Hey, Gabriel.
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
Where are we today?
Today we are again at the Lone Star, and I don't know if it's because this is like a sure thing in having a quiet place to record, or because we love this bar so much.
Yep. I mean, it's also because we have been waiting for the whole year. I think that this was a bit of a representation of normalcy for us. Because before we were recording the podcast, is that this was like the easy way out of having to think.
Let's just go to Lone Star.
Exactly. It's like we felt like for a year that we had to become creatives, and it's like now, thank God, it's like this is open again. So, is that when the eagle opens, it's when
that's what I was just gonna say. Let's use our listeners to peer pressure the eagle into opening.
Exactly. Yeah, our dozen of listeners that are going to be listening to this after the official reopening of California. Yeah. So what did we watch today?
Today we watched the 1960 film Purple Noon, not to be confused with Moon, because I tried to find Purple Moon for a long time. It does not exist.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Jose is the one that creates the calendar reminders. All of that's on him. And this one time I was
I'm sorry, and even like I remember they wrote the notes about like remember to watch Purple Moon wherever you can find it. I cannot find it.
And to be fair, Purple Moon makes way more sense than Purple Noon.
Yeah, I have no idea because we actually said Plain Soleil. I think that is like just full sun. Maybe like in the literal translation, and it's in Spanish also called that, a pleno sol. So it's like, I have no idea what Purple Noon means. I don't know if it's an expression.
Not that I know of, maybe in the 60s.
Yeah, who knows? There were like crazier times. And this was actually my pick, and I think that the reason why I picked this is because I wanted to see another thriller kind of thing after watching Stoker, not Stalker.
Stoker.
After watching that, I was like just curious to just watch something else along the thriller lines and just having, like a comparison. Especially given like how famous or how much we like the 1999 The Talented Mr. Ripley adaptation by Anthony Gallagher. And I was like, I knew that this was with Alain Delon, and it was supposed to be like one of his breakthrough.
And so I just want to underscore that we love The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yes, we do.
So,
and I think that watching this made me like it even more, without saying if I like this one or not.
All right, that's fair.
But yeah, so as this was my pick, what was this movie about? What was Purple Noon
about? So this is about the talented Mr. Ripley. He is an ambitious, social ladder climber, climber,
yep.
Who has been hired by the father of Philippe Greenleaf.
Here is Philippe instead of Dick.
Yeah, not Dickie.
Yep.
So Philippe here, his father lives in San Francisco and has a business here, but Philippe has gone to Italy, and his father hired Tom Ripley to basically go to Italy, convince him to leave his bohemian life and come home and take over the business.
Yep.
He has no intention of doing that, and Tom kind of conspires with Dickie. I'm going to say Dickie, Philippe, to basically use the dad's money and have a great time. And so Tom enjoys living this luxurious life that he's always wanted to. Philippe keeps him
but he
around.
cannot afford
He
doesn't have any kind of
no, he has no money.
business.
And Philippe keeps him around for a while because he's entertained. Tom Ripley worships him basically, but at some point he gets tired and he becomes abusive.
Yeah, actually the point that we see the movie is that the movie starts from almost like you hit the ground at 50 miles per hour, basically about like, okay, we see like a random scene that even like just started the movie again for the did I miss something? Was that like something that my video actually skipped? And is that they already had like a bit of that abusive relationship. It's like in the Antonio Miller relationship, we see that transition. Here is almost like he's abusing all that. Oh, that's good. Go do something, and then just come back. And it's a bit more. I don't care about like what you feel. I'm going to be like just doing whatever I want, and you're just my pet, basically.
Which Philippe enjoys for a while, and at some point he gets bored.
Yeah.
Tom is desperately. Well, first off, he has a little bit of an obsession with Philippe, not as much as in The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah.
But basically, he just wants his life. And I feel like in The Talented Mr. Ripley, he wanted his life and to fuck him.
Exactly. I mean, I think there's a bit more of an obsession. I want to become you, and I want to be you, but at the same time, I want to be with you.
Yeah.
You know, I had to say that was like my biggest pet peeve with this movie is like how unidimensional, single-dimensional the characters are.
All of them.
Yeah.
Poor Marge, Jesus Christ.
Actually, that this makes me like Anthony Miguel version like way more about like how complex all the characters are. Is that they are not as dumb as here. There is like, okay, Tom Ripley is evil on this movie. There is no like middle ground. There is not about like a big team of. Is no, he's evil.
Yeah.
Plain evil. And Marge is dumb. She's just plain dumb.
So Marge is Philippe's fiancée. She's writing a book. And ultimately Tom sees that his time with them is ending. So he devises a plan to kill Philippe and basically take his identity. And then the rest of the movie is a series of very close calls where he outsmarts everyone
in very stupid ways.
And then we get to the ending, which the ending of Purple Noon,
he gets caught,
which is super lame.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's super lame, but also at the same time he tries to just close it completely, the story, when actually Patricia Highsmith in the books, she did it. You know, she actually let the book open, and there actually are like 2 or 3 sequels where Ripley, you know, like keeps us living this kind of impersonating life. That is how the Anthony Miguel version actually ends. That is, it's pretty close, right? Yeah, but he's willing to actually kill the person that loves him. I love the scene. So heartbreaking.
Oh, and then he meets Then he meets Kate Blanchett. Oh God, it's so perfect.
That is like, I can actually just be Tom Ripley, and it's like, oh no, you cannot, because you lied as a joke, you know. Some time ago, it's like, no, you cannot.
And before we started recording, you said to me, and I felt the same way, we're going to use this podcast mostly to talk about The Talented Mr. Ripley. But I want to say that I read about how film critics that were active in 1960 and active in 1999, how they reacted.
Oh, yeah?
And Roger Ebert, I think, gave Purple Noon 3 stars, and then gave The Talented Mr. Ripley 4 stars, and said that Purple Noon was good, but he didn't have the balls that Patricia Highsmith did, and Minghella did.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the way Minghella ended the story and Patricia Highsmith, it was so open-ended, and you didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, I mean, you don't know what is going to happen, but at the end, it's like he's just portraying Tom as a person that did the wrong choices over and over, and he's just trying to survive, but he's making the hole for himself like even deeper. You know, it's like, you cannot have any kind of sympathy for Tom's character in Purple Noon, but you can have some kind of sympathy for Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Is that you actually feel like, okay, you did a wrong call, that's true, but you're a victim about other things that they happen.
You're completely right, and you brought up this point earlier. The characters are so one-dimensional. I found it interesting that they didn't have Philippe cheating on her, which is kind of a big...
Well, he does. It's like he actually makes out with this woman that they take on the carriage in Rome.
Oh yeah, but they were just so he was kissing in the carriage. Sure. It's bad, but it's not like he got somebody pregnant and that woman killed herself, which is
different.
And I like how that woman, by the way, Philippe, was pretending to be blind, and Tom Ripley was playing along, and the girl kind of got swept up in how cute they were, and then they finally admitted, after like taking advantage of her body, like,
of course, you're going to roll with that.
And they find out that she finds out he's not blind, and she's like, oh, stupid me. I can't believe I fell for it.
I'm a woman. What can be expected? Yeah, I felt that everything felt like really flat. I mean, I was impressed. I was mentioning this before we started recording, from the perspective of no one would have the balls to start a movie, a story from the middle nowadays. And it's not about like, well, we're going to be like making the audience think. It's another characters that they never get introduced or anything. It's like suddenly they are there. It's almost like someone cut like 30 minutes of the movie at the beginning.
I agree, and stylistically, I was like, this is very
It's ballsy.
aged. Like, this is a specific style that filmmakers, thank God, have gone away from.
Yeah.
So in the Minghella version, there were such character development, such like the setting of tone and mood. I'm thinking specifically about when Tom has killed Philippe, or Dickie killed Tom killed Dickie.
Yeah.
And he rents a beautiful suite in a hotel in Rome, and then the police come. And that exact scene almost existed in Purple Noon, and it just you cannot compare like the suspense and dread you feel in The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Well, because Tom in this movie in Purple Noon is like a single Tom character. You know, it's like you don't care about him. It doesn't feel realistic. He's a Matt Damon. I'm surprised that I'm going to be saying this, but Matt Damon does an amazing job portraying like a broken character. You know, it's a broken human being that you want to feel sympathy, but at the same time, is that he did some terrible stuff, and he's just trying to survive with it. Is that you feel sympathy for him. Is that with him, with Alain Delon, is that it was so black and white that is like, yeah, you're evil. That there is no excuse for what you have done.
And also, all of the characters I feel like in Purple Noon were unlikable, uninteresting. Like, I didn't care about what happened to any of them. Like, when Jude Law got killed, I was like, holy fuck, something is happening. I was not
expecting,
And I will say, when he kills Philippe on the yacht, and then the scene where he's going very fast, that was the one time where I was like, fuck, this is good, like, film editing, cinematography.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of the kind of frantic kind of editing. Yeah, it has part of that effect, but also at the same time, I felt like the build up on the script after Marge leaves, and they are like, just basically Tom is telling Philip about, hey, I'm going to be killing you, and I'm going to be hey. That kind of over exposition about explaining the plan and the evil genius, I think that it detracted from the end value. When he killed him, he was like, yeah, of course, I mean, he just said that he was going to be killing him. You know, everything that happens from here, like, I don't care. And I have to say that the ending about like, when the boss actually is just bringing the body down, I felt like this is stupid.
And I feel like they had to do that because no studio in the 60s had the balls to, this is what I was going to tell you about Roger Ebert. Oh, I said it already. He didn't have the balls that Patricia Highsmith.
Well, but I mean, not only that, because I remember reading the book, and the book, of course, is open-ended from the perspective that there is a sequel, but I remember that there is not so much homoerotism as there is in the Minghella version.
I would argue there is none.
Did you read it?
Oh, sorry, in the novel? I thought you were talking about Purple Noon.
No, in Purple Noon there is no.
Okay.
There is no. You can say about like the idea of how he's awkwardly standing in front of them, like playing the guitar and say like, blah, blah, and just looking at them and then wearing his clothes. It may be a bit of I want to be with you, you know? But at the same time, it's never as old as when they're playing chess on the bathtub.
See, those are the sorts of things that I missed from The Talented Mr. Ripley is one, like, we felt for each character. They had likable and unlikable traits, but mostly we rooted for each one of them.
Yeah.
And we got a genuine, like, close examination of how fucked up Tom Ripley is, and he's very fucked up.
Yeah.
And this just made him, he's the bad guy, and he's plotting to kill, and then he was spoiled.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part that I feel is that, look, true that the book is not perfect, you know, it's just a black novel, you know, like a thriller novel, you know, from the 50s, if I recall correctly. But the Antonio Minghella version is, I have to say that after watching this, it just makes me think that this was made in 1960, pretty close to the time where the novel actually takes place. And it feels more realistic. The 99 version of it, it feels like at least more like the fantasy 50s version, you know, about American living in Italy, you know, with so much money to spend. It felt like way less of a studio piece, way more like I feel like I'm there.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I actually paid attention to the way they were showing the Italian towns and cities they were in. We got such, I can't stand when people say locations are characters, but I felt like Italy was a character for The Talented Mr. Ripley, and here it was just a pretty backdrop.
Maybe it's because it's a French movie, you know, and they say that, well, it's Italy. let's not go crazy. It's not that good.
Also, that was so confusing to me. Why is this an American living in Italy speaking perfect French to everyone?
I know. Yeah, that party was like, look, let's just not think about it. Let's just not think about it because this makes no sense.
When he brought up San Francisco, I was like,
Wait, what?
doesn't he mean Paris? Doesn't he need to go home to Paris?
Marge, if I remember, she's also American. No, talented Mr. Ripley.
She definitely has an American accent, or it could be Canadian. Yeah.
Yep. So honestly, that before we watched this last week, we actually checked the score for talented Mr. Ripley, and I think it was like you gave it an 8.5 and I gave it a 7.5 because this has actually made me realize how good the talented Mr. Ripley was. Not because this is terrible, because I actually just comparing is that I can see the style on the aesthetics and the care that Anthony Minghella showed for this.
I agree, and I genuinely feel, and I could be wrong, that in 25 years, if you and I were to rewatch The Talented Mr. Ripley, we would like it as much. And I feel like Purple Noon would feel as dated as it did when I watched it yesterday.
Yep. No, definitely.
So I wanted to tell you, I only read about 2 film critics. One was Roger Ebert. The other one, it's mentioned in the Wikipedia article, I can't remember his name, but he gave the original 4 stars and he gave The Talented Mr. Ripley 2 stars. And he said that the only reason we think that Matt Damon is a decent Tom Ripley is because the guy who played Philippe Greenleaf? No, Philippe in Purple.
Oh, yeah.
Alain.
Purple, no.
Yeah, I don't remember his name.
Alain Delon?
Blew it out of the water, yes. And he said that his performance is incredible. And it's true. The way Tom Ripley turns into Philippe, it's remarkable. But nothing was asked of him of the script. Nothing.
I mean, there is no subtlety whatsoever. It's like you're evil. You have to be evil. You know, it's like, it may be like a bit more of a gray area at the beginning, but it's like he embraces the evilness in a way that is like you never have sympathy, you never have like any kind of doubts about like he's evil. I'm not supposed to root for that guy. I'm not. I want him to be caught. He's evil.
I agree with you, but I do think his performance is excellent. I just think the script didn't ask him to do anything that difficult.
But that's what we were talking about Stalker last week. You know, that is Nicole Kidman. That's a decent job. But the script is terrible.
Let's not get back into Stoker, son of a bitch.
I'm sorry, man, but the script is garbage. So from that perspective, it's like if you do garbage well, is that you may actually show that you're a decent actor, but it doesn't actually show all your potential.
So you're saying Wentworth Miller was not born to write scripts?
No.
Well,
definitely not.
All right,
you told me that they only had 2, and the second one had like 0 tomatoes. I think that's the definition of you are not studies. In this case, I'm not saying that the script was that bad, but I'm saying that the script was not something to be remembered for. You know, in this movie. And Alain Delon does a good job, but also at the same time, it does. I was thinking, is this an anti-hero? No, it's not. It's someone that you want to root or you feel guilty for rooting. No, it's not, because there is no reason for rooting for him. Is that we don't have like enough background on the character. We're just thinking about like, oh, you know, he was like just mistreated in childhood. Is that we're never given that. And that's like a bullshit direction on the script, but at the same time, it doesn't really well.
And I was thinking how much I enjoyed the opening scene to The Talented Mr. Ripley. I don't know if you remember it, but he is basically...
like just playing the piano.
Yeah, he's on a rooftop on Central Park, and he plays piano beautifully, and he borrows a jacket. And
it was in New York or in San Francisco?
No, it's New York. They're on Central Park.
Oh, it's No, you may be right.
Yeah, because they're on a high-rise. They're on the roof of a high-rise. And just like how much we learned to feel for this guy who desperately wants things that we all want, acceptance and validation, and he has to borrow a suit jacket. Like, we didn't get any of that.
No.
And I was particularly offended at how stupid Marge was, because they, God forbid, allowed her to be writing a book. But beyond that, there was nothing required of her.
She's not a full-fledged character. No one is, you know, and that's the problem that I have. It's like, it's surprising. The novel is good, and they do like part of that. It's like the Antonio Minghella script. I don't know who wrote it. It's amazing. It's just incredible about like how it makes every single character just come to life.
How long ago did you read the book?
Oh, like 15 years probably. I mean, I really like just a bit after the movie, the Antonio Minghella version, because my sister had it. And I found it, and I actually, the book was not called The Talented Mr. Ripley, it was called Purple Noon. That's pretty amazing.
Minghella adapted
actually
the novel himself.
That's pretty good, you know. Just seeing like the terrible joke that happened here, you know. I mean, not terrible joke, but I mean more of lazy joke about like what is the point on the talented Mr. Ripley. I had the feeling that it's about like just portraying people that they want something they cannot have, and how they struggle with that, and how a bad decision can actually just like snowball rolling, you know, about like just
snowball into
exactly,
something.
you know, something even
Well,
bigger.
honestly, that's what I liked so much about the scene where he kills Philippe, is that you see that like things got so intense and so out of control that he started to make mistakes, and that's what I felt like we got a very strong visual about that moment in his life. And that may be corny, but I was like, okay, like I see what they're trying to do, and this is pretty impressive.
And you mean like in this one?
In Purple Noon, just the scene where the boat's going out of control, they're about to run into another yacht, he has the dead body.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like, look, I understand that you're trying to make it like chaotic right now, but when he actually described everything that was going to be doing, I just felt.
But after that is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no. There is they start like just like doing like a bit more like fast paced kind of thing and everything. It's like it just felt like sure. I see that you're using the visual language, but it doesn't really matter when you actually have gotten to this point in this cheap kind of way.
And it was very bizarre that one, they don't show the stabbing. They do that completely off screen, but then they do show Philippe yelling Marge, which I was like, what?
No, he actually just stabs him with a knife.
No, he reaches down and you see the knife, and you see their feet only, and then you just hear the scream, and then you see
I think
Philippe.
you actually see him like when he's like just going down. Is that you actually see him like just going?
You see him going up, but they don't show the stab. That's all off screen.
Right.
Which I was like, okay, 60 censorship. Well, after this conversation, I'm very curious to hear one, your answers to the question, and two, your score.
Yeah.
Unless you have anything else you want to talk about.
No, I think that there is, you know, it's like if we keep talking about this, I think we're going to be talking more about the mapping version.
And I just want to say that I didn't dislike this film at all, but you have to compare it to The Talented Mr. Ripley.
Yeah,
And
the problem is that we have watched this, I don't know, like 1990, and then it was like 10 years later watching the Tony Minghella version, I will feel like pretty different about it. But it's not the case.
It's not, yes.
Yeah.
So first question, would you watch this again?
No, I wasn't Tony Minghella version, but not this.
So my answer is yes. I didn't dislike this film. I found the interpretation of watching two different interpretations of the book. I found it interesting. Am I like looking forward to watching it again? No, but I think this is a pretty good French movie from the 60s.
I don't know. I mean, I watched Le Boucher way before watching this, you know, and it was another 60s thriller from France. I think that is like there are better adaptations of this. I don't think that there is any reason for going to this specific one, but to this one.
All right, so would you recommend it? All right, so would you recommend it?
No, because the Tony Minghella version exists.
See, I would absolutely recommend it to somebody who likes The Talented Mr. Ripley and they didn't know Purple Noon exists. I would be like, this is not as good, but you should check it out.
So you should actually just watch a movie that doesn't bring any kind of additional character development or insight into the characters, and we think that is inferior to this one, but you should watch it.
I mean, I prefer The Talented Mr. Ripley, but I don't regret watching this at all. I'm happy I watched it.
I'm not feeling that I wasted 2 hours of my life. I'm feeling that it doesn't bring me anything compared with the 1999 version.
But don't you find it interesting to have this discussion? Like, I think it's a good thing we watched it to talk about it. So we are the type of people I would recommend this movie to.
I would never recommend this to my friends, but I recommended the Tony Minghella version. I did.
Will you remember this?
Yes, because I remember the Tony Minghella version, and now I can actually compare it to this one that I always wanted to.
Yeah, I will absolutely remember this, and I will remember the major difference in the plot, which was that René Clément didn't have the balls to have the actual ending that was supposed to happen. They needed to wrap it up neatly for the 60s consumers that wanted tales of good and evil.
Yeah, I doesn't have the skills or the chops. I don't know if he was the one that wrote the script. About like just making the character like a bit more multifaceted.
Is there anything artistic about it?
I guess so, yes.
I I think that the direction, the cinematography, the editing is spectacular. I think it's really well done. I think the script is the weak link here.
I mean, I feel like the visual language is good, but I think that once again, I mean, the problem is with this, if I compare it with the Johnny Minghella version, he likes to just have like larger scope, like larger frame kind of perspective, and this was like a bit more like narrow. That he actually knew how to bring up to life like all the landscapes, and with this one, it felt like everything like a bit more suffocating. So from this perspective, like I felt like maybe it's the style from the 60s that didn't actually. Not saying that it's bad. It's just saying that it's a difficult visual language.
Is there anything artistic about that's what the one I just asked? Is it a timeless?
Yes. Just from the perspective of what it talks about, there is a bullet that's wanting to be something else that you're not, and the price is going to be the best.
It's interesting how much we're disagreeing on these questions, because I don't think this is a timeless piece. The novel is a timeless piece. The Talented Mr. Ripley is a timeless piece, but
and you think this one is not?
I mean, we've just talked about like this is like some like very standard approach to film in the 60s that needs to be wrapped up neatly, that makes it such a product of its time. Like the fact they opened up halfway through the movie, that just happened in the 60s.
Well, that's true. It's like actually, and this is something like hilarious that some people used to define that as we want the audience to think. But it's like just throwing them off is not making them to think.
I know this question is a little bit awkward because sometimes we talk about whether the story itself is timeless, or the film is timeless.
Yeah.
For me, when I started this, I felt this feels dated. It feels super dated, and I can't get over that. So for me, the story is timeless. The film is timely.
Well, the film is timely because you have another adaptation. Imagine that the Johnny Minghella version didn't exist.
Imagine it didn't exist.
Yeah.
I would still feel like this film is dated.
I don't feel this dated a bit because of the cinematography style, but I think like the topics that they're taking is, if the Johnny Minghella version didn't exist, I would feel like, that's fine. It's a movie that I will be like just watching now or 20 years in the future and just feeling more or less the same way. I think that the Talented Mr. Ripley is a way better movie, but I think that this is an adaptation. It doesn't live up to its full potential, but it's not a bad one. And I think that the topic is mostly the same.
And I would agree. I don't think this is a bad movie, but it's just so firmly rooted into this old-fashioned style of filmmaking.
True.
Would you turn this into a TV show?
No.
Absolutely not.
Not
The
even
Talented
with
Mr. Ripley is so perfect.
Yeah.
Let's just leave it at the 2 hours.
Yeah.
Do you think this movie could have been better?
Yes. And there is a whole movie of 2 hours that is significantly better doing this than the Johnny Minghella version.
So if you had to call out one thing, what would it be?
The script. Just change the script. Just make the characters like a bit more
Just
gray
develop
areas.
the characters,
Yep.
man. That's all I want. Like, make me care about them. Show me that they're good and bad. That's
Yep.
all I want. So
Well, I mean, they're showing you that they're good and bad or dumb. It's like, I don't want that. I want to actually just have like the gray areas that Mr. Ripley has.
Yeah.
And it's that they cannot. I mean, the script cannot do it, and it doesn't even try it.
Well, all that's left is the score.
And this was my pick, so it's your turn to score.
Purple Moon.
Noon or moon?
So I'm really struggling with the score because I do think this is a good film. I've been going back and forth between a 6.5 and a 7. I think I'm going to land on a 6.5.
Okay. All right. My score is actually a 6. I think that is not bad. I think that there is like better intent than in Stalker. And it's true, that the 60s cinema may feel like a bit more dated by today's standard, but it's still enjoyable.
But let's remember, like, this is the high point of the French New Wave, so it's not like they had to be uninteresting. A lot of interesting French directors were taking risks, like in stylistic choices that were holding them.
This one didn't actually do that. That's true.
So I feel like this is just a sanitized, version that popped out to make the most money.
Okay, no, that's fair. Let me just ask you something right now. Is that this is not the third one that we record about, but it's the third time that we talk about a Patricia Highsmith adaptation.
Oh yeah,
The Two Faces of January. Do you think that this is better than the Two Faces of January?
Yes. At least it has some sort of spirit that the book had. Some of it was there. I just feel like the Two Faces of January was so flat. It was so flat.
Yeah, it almost felt like a manual thing. It felt like a bit more, okay, I'm going to be using all the elements that I have to use for doing an adaptation of a thriller or a film noir. Is that everything's going to be there. Yeah, from that perspective, besides that, is like this is the 60s. The other one, it was like the teens, I think. And it was like just, you should do better. The talented Mr. Rupert already happened. You can do better than this.
Well, I mean, I'm like I said, I think I'm happy that I watched this. I'm happy that I got a different perspective, and I liked it more than I thought I would. To be honest, I had very low expectations, so I would say good choice, and it was a respectable attempt. But for me, it's just not it.
So, what are we watching this?
So
It's Pride Month.
it's Pride Month. I don't know if you know. We're both gay.
Could you?
So which surprises me.
That I'm gay?
We should watch it.
Okay.
No, that I feed gay film.
You know that this is probably coming out in August. But okay, let's go with
All
that.
right. A few months ago was Pride Month. So anyway, the Criterion Collection has created a collection of 10 gay films, and they got the Rolling Stone film critic to do a discussion about these films, and I hadn't heard of almost all of them, including one by Todd Haynes from 1990 called Poison that won the Best Film Award at Sundance in 1990. I respect Todd Haynes.
Do you respect Sundance?
I have an erection for Sundance.
Okay.
I used to go all the time until I became a Californian. So I don't know if it's good or bad. I didn't read any reviews, but the Criterion channel told me I should watch this film. So
When has the Criterion channel?
it's a mockumentary. It's partly inspired by Carell. So I think
Oh my god.
no matter what, there's
Okay.
going to be things to talk about.
At some point we should have watched it.
Again,
Yes, we didn't record about it.
do you just want to watch Carell? Because I would happily do that for our Pride Month
No.
episode coming out in August.
Let's watch this. The next time that we are like face to face, it's like maybe in the future. Let's go with that. Or maybe I will pick Carell. That's the next.
All right.
Okay.
So for this week, Poison, Todd Haynes, 1990.
Okay, and to everyone that is listening to us, thank you so much for listening.
And wash your hands until you're fully vaccinated.
Probably keep washing it. Don't be a pig. Come on. Okay. Bye.